Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our TOEIC unit for the month of September, and we're going to be talking about a typhoon. Well, we don't really know for sure if a typhoon is coming or not because we're pre-recording this program, so we don't really know the weather forecast when you're going to hear this lesson. But sometimes this does happen. Sometimes typhoons come, and if you're trying to travel during that time, it can be a headache.
It can. I typically don't travel during typhoon season because if it's hot here, it's usually hot in my hometown, and I don't like to go on vacation when it's hot. So I know some of my friends have been stuck at airports or have had to change their flights due to typhoons coming along, and it's a pain. Has this happened to you, Tom, before?
Yeah, I can think of 2 times there were delays. One time because of high winds, we couldn't fly out of Pittsburgh because I had to fly to Chicago, and because...
But that's not a typhoon.
True. Yeah, I guess I can't say that I have a typhoon delay, but high winds are kind of like a typhoon, but no, there was no big storm on that particular day. They just did not fly because of those high winds, and I missed my connecting flight. How about you? Have you ever had a delay because of a typhoon?
Not of a typhoon. No, I said I never traveled during typhoon season, but I have had delays with weather. It's usually snow because I like to travel in the winter and I get stuck at some airport like Denver or Chicago where they have worse weather than I do in Arizona. Anyway, we're going to talk about this today, how to use language to rebook a flight that's been canceled, how to get some information if your plane is delayed due to weather. So this is a really, I think, practical unit for TOEIC. We're going to read through today's lesson and then we'll be back. Important. Flight cancellation due to typhoon. Dear valued customer, we regret to inform you that your upcoming flight with AMC Airlines has been canceled because Typhoon Rhea is affecting our operational areas. Safety remains our highest priority, and current weather conditions have made it impossible to maintain our scheduled services. Compensation and rebooking options. 1. Full refund. Passengers are entitled to receive a complete refund of their fare, which will be processed within 7 to 10 business days and refunded via the original payment method. 2. Free rebooking. You may reschedule your journey on any available AMC Airlines flight within the next 14 days at no additional cost, subject to seat availability. 3. Accommodations. Passengers whose flights were canceled while in transit will be provided with overnight accommodations and shuttle service to our partner hotels. To proceed with any of the above options, please contact our 24-hour customer service center at +886-2555-7890. Visit the AMC Airlines mobile application and select Manage My Booking. Approach any AMC Airlines service counter at the airport. Please note that our customer service lines are experiencing higher than normal call volumes. We appreciate your patience during this time and recommend using our digital channels for faster assistance. We sincerely apologize for any inconvenience and appreciate your understanding during this time of adverse weather conditions. Best regards, AMC Airlines Customer Service Team.
All right, it's time for us to explore the contents of today's lesson. We're presenting it in the form of some sort of letter or some sort of notice that may have been sent to you via email or maybe posted on social media or someplace. But this is an announcement concerning a flight cancellation because of a typhoon. Some of you, of course, have traveled during typhoons, and, of course, the flights were canceled. Possibly. Sometimes they fly, sometimes they don't. It depends on safety considerations. But yes, this is an important announcement concerning flight cancellation due to a typhoon.
Yeah, it's kind of a pain, but I'd rather that the airline be safe first rather than have some sort of horrible accident. it's scary enough if you're in the air and you get turbulence. I've been in some really scary flights, a couple that I thought we might not make it. And, I'd rather just wait until maybe better weather came. But some people can't wait. Maybe there's a special event at home like a wedding. You can't really postpone a wedding because one person can't attend because of their flight being delayed. But yeah, I'd rather the airline just be very careful in terms of taking off when the weather's bad. So here we go. You get these announcements sent to your phone usually, especially if you have the app of the airline on your phone, which I do now. So you might receive this memo in that app, or as Tom said, you could see it online. Maybe you're on Facebook. Maybe somebody's letting you know that something bad's happening. Of course, there will be this announcement or posting at the airport. And sadly, if you're already at the airport, you're going to have to turn around and go home, which is kind of a pain, unless you're in transit. And we'll talk about what that is in a minute. So they're just telling you, we regret to inform you. These words are often used in English to tell someone about some very sad news or some unfortunate news. We hear this phrase used when a policeman or maybe a military person has to come to a family's door and let them know that a family member has been hurt or even killed. We regret to inform you. So this is bad news if you see those words. The upcoming flight that this person had with AMC Airlines was canceled because of Typhoon Rhea, and it's affecting the airline's operational areas. What is operational, Tom?
That has to do with operations, basically where the airline flies, which cities it flies from, and which cities it flies to, and all its air routes and things like that. That would be the operational areas. You could also say the area of operation. And yes, indeed, this typhoon has affected their operational areas. So the flight can't take off, it can't land or whatever. You're out of luck. And again, it's affecting those areas. So yeah, for safety reasons, they will cancel that flight. And safety remains our highest priority. And current weather conditions have made it impossible to maintain our scheduled services. So indeed, safety is the highest concern, 安全第一, as we always see around construction sites. Safety is number one. And yes, it's our highest priority. That's the most important thing to us. And yes, we have these current weather conditions. There's a typhoon around, and it's very dangerous with those high winds and big waves and lots of rain. So we can't maintain our scheduled services. We're going to have to make some changes.
So then they go on to tell you what you need to do at this point. So what's the next step? They're going to tell you. They're going to talk about compensation and rebooking options. Compensation is when you get a payment for some sort of loss. Maybe you are being compensated because your home was damaged in an earthquake or a fire or something like that. Or maybe you get compensation for having to be on the road during your work hours and you had to buy your own lunch. Your company usually gives you compensation for that. They pay you back for the money you had to spend. Here we're talking about getting your money back for a ticket maybe that you can't use anymore. We don't know what people in the airport have planned and why they're flying places, but yeah, you might want to get your money back. And of course, if it's the airline's fault to begin with, you can get a full refund if you followed their regulations or their rules. You can't decide maybe a year later after this trip is canceled that you want your money back because by then it will be too late. So you have to make sure you know what all their rules and regulations are. And they're also going to tell us about rebooking options to book for the second time.
Indeed. So maybe the wedding that you were going to go to is tomorrow, and if you miss the flight today, there's no point in going now because the wedding will be over, so you're just not going to go. And in that case, you'll get a full refund. You'll get all of your money back, and passengers are entitled to receive a complete refund of their fare. Your fare, of course, is the money you pay for the ticket, which will be processed within 7 to 10 business days and refunded via the original payment method. So if you paid online using Line Pay or whatever, then they'll refund the money using Line Pay or whatever method you used to pay for it, maybe credit card or a check or something, who knows. But if you're entitled to something, you have a right to that. It's not denied to you. You are entitled to that refund, or that refund, I should say. And yes, you will get it because you have the right to receive it because of this condition.
So you're entitled to something. Usually, if you work and you obey your company's rules and regulations, you're entitled to receive your salary when you've worked those hours. So, yeah, you are entitled to receive a complete refund, which is nice. But look at this next part. It has to be, or you will get it, but you have to wait while they process things. You don't get it immediately. They will go through this process, which takes 7 to 10 business days, and then you're going to be refunded. And look at this, via the original payment method. If you used a credit card, they're not going to give you cash when they refund your payment. You're going to be refunded via, you can say, the original payment method. They'll use the same card that you used to buy your ticket. Via is a word that just means through or by a particular way, by way of or through. And there are two very popular pronunciations of this word. One is via and one is via. I grew up saying via, and then when I moved to New York and lived there for a while, they said via, so I changed. So pick the one that you like, and you can say it. I don't even
know what I'm supposed to say anymore because I've been teaching English here for so long. Oh, you can say via or via.
Yeah.
I guess that whatever comes out of your mouth will be correct. Here's the second option, number 2, free rebooking. Okay, so we did talk about booking a flight. That means you make a reservation, but here's rebooking, which means you need to book again because the first flight was canceled. And this is free. There's no extra charge involved. And it says you may reschedule your journey on any available AMC Airlines flight within the next 14 days at no additional cost, subject to seat availability. So yes, it's going to be for any available AMC Airlines flight. I think they mean the one that you were booked on before. If you're flying from Taipei to Los Angeles, for example, well, you can't book another ticket Taipei to Amsterdam or something like that. No, it has to be the original flight, but you can pick whichever day or whichever time you want, depending on how it's convenient for you. So indeed, you can rebook for free, and you can continue your journey that way at a later time.
You have to do it within the next 14 days. Yeah, usually if you rebook something, you're charged a fee. You know, they get you coming and going on these airlines now. You're charged a fee for everything. So be careful with that. Look at this phrase, subject to. It's kind of very formal legal language. We don't usually talk like that if we're just speaking casually with something or someone. Subject to just means depending on something and depending on whatever follows. Well, depending on what seats are available, you might want to fly a particular day and find out, oh, that particular flight is sold out. There are no seats. So you have to wait and see if the flight you choose the second or third time has the seats that you want, and if you can rebook that way. You never know. I've had some really bad experiences with rebooking. So subject to, depending on if they have seats available. Number 3 is accommodations. Notice we're putting the S on accommodations. In American English, we say accommodations. In British English, they say accommodation. And we're talking about your hotel and the food that you eat included. They're both included. Lately, it seems like airlines don't want to give you any money for accommodations. So here they've got a particular rule that's interesting. If you go to the Taoyuan airport, for example, and that's when your flight is canceled, and you live in Taiwan, you're not going to get accommodations. But say you're on the flight already and you're laid over in Japan, then they're going to provide those people whose flight was canceled due to bad weather accommodations. So they'll give you a hotel voucher and a food voucher, which is kind of nice. I've never had luck with this. I always get canceled on the first leg or the first section of a long flight. So I never get this. So yeah, if you're canceled while in transit, that's when you get the accommodations. If you're in transit, you're just in the process of moving from one place to another.
I should mention an example. Actually, I do remember my wife and I were traveling from New York back to Taipei with a stop in San Francisco. We had to change planes there.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the plane flying to Taipei had some kind of mechanical problem and they couldn't take off, so they delayed it a day. And so they actually gave us a hotel to stay in. I really wasn't in a big hurry, so that was fine. Hey, we're just going to have another night in San Francisco, although the hotel was kind of far away from anything fun. We just hung out in the room and watched TV and stuff like that. But still, we had a nice breakfast, and it was kind of an interesting little diversion there from the trip. But that could be very inconvenient for other people.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, that's the third option. You will receive compensation for accommodations. They'll pay for your hotel or food if you're stuck in transit, and they will also provide free shuttle service to those hotels. So don't worry about arranging transportation if you're in Tokyo and you need to find a hotel in Narita someplace. You don't have to go outside and flag a taxi or take a train or whatever. They will provide the shuttle service. It will probably be a kind of small bus or something like that.
A van.
A van. It depends on how many people need this, but shuttling just means moving from one place to another, like back and forth. So this will be shuttle service. Of course, some hotels provide shuttle service to the airport. You can talk to them at the service counter. I'd like to arrange shuttle service to the airport. My flight is at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Oh, no problem, sir. We'll have a van ready for you at that time.
Or if you fly into an airport, oftentimes you'll see an information desk that has shuttle service on there. And you can check and see if the hotel that you're staying at provides shuttle service. Honestly, I always find out before I go to the airport just to make sure, because you want to know how you're going to get from the airport that you land into your hotel without having a big delay. A lot of people out there, of course, are using apps like Uber or some other taxi cab app to get a ride to their hotel. But if you can get a free shuttle service, you're saving some money. Now, to proceed with any of the above options, they want you to do some of the following. You can do any of these. So you can contact their 24-hour customer service center, and they give you the number right there. So you might want to check into that. It looks like they have Taiwan's country code first, then the city code, and then the phone number. So that's one thing you can do. You can also choose to visit the AMC Airlines mobile application, and that just means mobile app. This is a more formal memo that they're sending out to people, but we don't say application, we just say app. So a mobile app is going to be an app on your phone. And for example, I fly United a lot. I don't like that airline, but I have to fly it. So I put the United app on my phone. It makes it more convenient when I'm traveling. Now, I wanted to mention something. There's a pronunciation of this word mobile that's different if you're in the UK. They say mobile. Mobile. And they talk about their phones that way. Oh, my mobile is out of battery. So in America, we don't say mobile. We use it for a different context, a different definition. It just means that someone can move around. That's what we mean by mobile. But they actually use mobile to talk about their phone. Here it just means mobile app. That's American English. And you would need to select something called Manage My Booking once you open your app.
Right, that's where you tap on your screen to access this information. And something else you should do is to approach any AMC Airlines service counter at the airport. So again, you might be stuck at the airport if you're in transit or whatever. So please contact the service representatives at their service counter. It may be actually at the gate, or it probably will be someplace else in the airport. I'm not quite sure where they would have it. I'm sure they'll tell you where you need to go.
Okay, so please note that it says that our customer service lines are experiencing higher than normal call volumes. Volume just means the amount. So they got lots of phone calls coming in. And so they say they appreciate our patience when we're having these difficulties. Everybody tends to get angry or upset. A lot of people are tired while they're flying. Try to be patient. It's not the people at the airline's fault. They want you to also try using their digital channels. That's just a really formal way of saying, anything that's online. So it could be Facebook, it could be your app on your phone, it could be one of the social media sites like IG or something like that. So digital channels just means anything that's connected to them via the internet. And they also go on to say they apologize for any inconvenience and they appreciate your understanding during this time of adverse weather conditions. If something's adverse, it means it's bad. So they have really bad weather right now, but you know what? We can't really control that, or they can't at least. So adverse again just means harmful, bad, negative. So you want to remember that adverse weather conditions can only mean bad news for you.
Right, that's a formal term. It just means bad weather. So these are the things that they're going to do for you if you're affected by the typhoon and you're affected by the cancellation, which was affected by the typhoon. Okay, so again, those are the choices you have. And they finish the letter by saying, best regards, AMC Airlines customer service team. And so therefore, after you've read this letter, you will understand the situation and you'll know what to do. And I'm sure they're going to offer a toll-free number or a website that you can contact if you have any other questions.
That's it. We're going to listen right now to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back with our discussion questions.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天的多益单元要来谈一个夏天常会出现，甚至秋天也有的台风。当它来的时候假设你要去搭飞机，真的是会来搅局耶，因为航班有时候会取消甚至不知道要 delay 很久。好，那现在呢，我们有一个情况，就是台风搅局之后，航班取消然后航空公司要做一个说明，是一个很正式的一个 email 的一个通知哦。我们来看一下，当然一开始会有称谓啦，这种信件一开始会有 Dear 点点点。那我们可以看到，为了表示诚意呢，这个信件除了很正式之外，也非常的客气。因为一开始的这个称谓叫做 Dear Valued Customer， 这个尊敬的顾客。那到底要如何呢？我们通常要讲一些不好的事情的时候通常会说我们很遗憾要告诉你什么事情。像现在看到第一段的第一句是 We regret to inform you， 但是你不能用 tell， 对不对？ tell 有点太口语了，所以 inform 的这个告知是比较正式的一个用字。好，那所以很遗憾的通知你什么呢？因为有个台风来啦，影响我们的这个区域啦，所以我们 AMC 航班呢已经被取消了。那为什么要取消呢？因为我们一定要考量到大家的安全，所以第一段的第三句 Safety remains our highest priority。 好，首先先看这个 remain remain 其实就是仍然是，一直是，维持的是，它就是有一点不及物动词的那个概念。那这是什么呢？是后面的这个 our highest priority 其实是补语所以我们最高的考量就是主词 safety， safety 就是我们 highest priority。 其实 remain它被当成 be 动词的概念来使用。好，当然我们以前曾经说过最高最优先的事情叫做 top priority， 对不对？ TOP 用那个字，用 highest 也是 OK 的，这是最高考量。那既然这个首要的考量呢，所以必须要把这个航班取消，就没有办法维持啦。接下来呢，我们同样还是继续看逗点之后，有看到一个 make it impossible， 有没有？我们把这个字抓出来，因为 make 这个字在英文当中它的用法太多了。比如说像在这里的 make something 如何如何，它就是一个不完全及物动词，也就是说当 make 后面加受词之后，还要再加个补语补充说明一下。例如我们看到的是 make it impossible， 使这件事情不可能。哪件事情呢？ it 是虚受词，真受词在后面的 to maintain 一直到句尾的地方。好，所以我们现在还原看句子当中的时态因为现在的天气考量就已经造成航班必须取消，所以这里的 make 用的是现在完成式 have made it impossible， 这件事不可能。哪件事呢？真受词在后面的 to 一直到句尾的地方。但是为什么要用虚受词就是因为真受词太长，有没有？我们把这个 to 一直到句尾一直塞回去的话，最后一个字卡一个 impossible， 就好像觉得怪怪的不通顺。所以像虚主词虚受词这些大家都要看熟。好，接着当然就有可能会 退费啦，要不然就是要改订别的班机，所以接下来航空公司就提供了一些方案咯，比如说是要全额退费呢，这个 compensation 就是一个补偿的方案。例如在第1点的地方看到 full refund 就是退回款项，当然你有权利可以全额的机票都退款。那这里的有权呢，我们看到的 be entitled to do something。 entitled 其实你看哦，中间有一个 title 对不对？ title 是不是标题啊，或者是我们有一个职称啊，前面的 en 呢就有给它赋予的意思。如果你今天被赋予了一个职称，就会相对有一些权利，所以其实 be entitled 就是有权如何如何。好，那接着或者是我们可以免费的改订其他的航班。那这个订航班的这个 book B-O-O-K 啊，是比较英式的说法哦。要不然我们如果是预定什么东西，在美式可能会用另外一个动词叫做 reserve R-E-S-E-R-V-E reserve。那它的名词是我们比较熟的，像是 make a reservation 是不是就预定，这个很熟。不过现在其实 book reserve 都是很常用的。那接着有可能会因为要过夜啊，所以要安排一些住宿，所以看到第3点的这个住宿叫做 accommodations。 好，那因为要安排住宿的关系呢，如果说你是在转机就必须要等待，所以在这个第3点我们看到有个限定用法关系子句哦，冒号之后 passenger 之后有一个 whose 到 cancel 的这个地方请左右括号。那这边的关系词我们看到的是所有格，关带的所有格， whose flights 指的是先行词，那些乘客的班机被取消的那些乘客，但是你是转机当中 while in transit， 那就有一个过夜的这个住宿可以提供，而且还有 shuttle bus、就是这个接驳服务 shuttle service。 好，那当然如果你可以选择退费啦，或者是免费的改订，那这个时候怎么处理呢？接着啊，蛮贴心的，你可以直接打电话，或者是直接用 app 应用程式，或者干脆到机场的任何 AMC 柜台。我们在接下来第3大段的这个第3个黑圈圈，第3的黑点的地方看到这个 approach 这个动词啊，它本来有接近的意思，那你就来靠近吧，接近吧，就请你过来吧，前往任何一个 counter。 那当然最后面呢，我们就是这个航空公司啊，还有提醒大家，就是如果大家都在打电话的时候，这个通话量可能很高哦，所以最后一个段落第1句最后面的 call volumes 指的是通话量，那这时候电话可能打不进来啦，那这时候可能就要耐心的等待。好，那或者是可以直接用 app 的关系用 app 就可以去重新改订嘛。所以我们在最后面第2句话当中看到的 digital channels 数位管道，就表示可以直接线上订啊。当然最后还是要诚挚的道歉sincerely apologize， 而且要理解啊，这感谢大家可以理解这样子的一个状况，谢谢某一件事情 appreciate something， 注意哦，它只能够接受事情，而谢谢人则是 thank someone。 好，以上是我们今天对于这个正式发的 email 通知的解说，我们明天还会看一个机场实况的英文。我是安娜，我们明天见。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. Okay, we're going to move on down to our discussion questions. Tom, we've been talking about this throughout this episode, but have you or someone you know ever experienced a flight cancellation or, let's focus on this, significant delay when you had to wait for hours and hours and maybe even a whole day?
I've had a couple of experiences. One I mentioned already, the cancellation of the flight or the delay because of the mechanical problem, so we had to stay overnight outside of San Francisco near the airport there. And there was another time I couldn't fly from Pittsburgh to Chicago because of high winds. They had to fly later than that. And I did forget to mention another one in which we were trying to fly from Taipei down to Hualien for a family holiday, but I think there was a typhoon nearby that didn't quite know what it was doing. So we kind of went back and forth at the airport. They said, okay, we're gonna fly now. Get ready to board the plane. And then 5 minutes later, they said, no, we've decided not to fly. And then 5 minutes later, they said, well, I guess we will fly. And in the end, we just didn't go. So this can happen sometimes. And of course, it's not the airline's fault. It just has to do with the weather.
That's the worst. They board you and you're sitting in your seat and you're there for a while. I was once on a plane in Phoenix. It was the middle of the summer. Again, I don't fly in the summer if I can avoid it. But this was before I moved to Taiwan. But we were on that we were on inner seats on the runway for quite a while. I think it was almost 2 hours. We did not have air conditioning, Tom. Oh, no. And they stopped handing out water, and people were getting really angry. We finally had to go back to the gate and let people off. They were so mad. There were a couple of passengers that were causing problems. And this is before, this last 10 years where people are really out of control when they're angry. I think people in Asia tend to behave better. But people in America, I've seen some really bad fights in airports. So, yeah, it can be hard. Try to be patient. The next one is, in your opinion, what should airlines prioritize when dealing with canceled flights?
That's a tough one because I've never actually worked for an airline before. As we mentioned before, safety should be the top priority, but then they have to deal with angry passengers, so I guess that should be the next priority, taking care of people and make sure they don't get too angry.
Yeah, it's hard. Try to be patient. We can't always predict if the airlines are going to have planes that suddenly have a problem or if the weather's going to be crazy. So hopefully you learned some things with this day one episode. We have another episode, though, and we're going to be talking about conversations between the airline staff and someone who was stranded at the airport. We hope you'll join us then. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.